This song is for you. Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies. Bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life. Because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Mr. Speaker, please tell me my time has expired. I don't want to give the impression I'm not happy for the Mets. I am really. I say thank God the Mets are going to the World Series and not the Yankees.
Little pencil neck Adam Schiff. He's got the smallest, thinnest neck I've ever seen. He is not a long ball hitter. But I saw him today. Well, we don't really know. There could still have been some Russia collusion.
Most of us know someone untrustworthy, but is repeated or pathological lying a personality flaw or a real disease?
All humans have lied at one time or another, so we all know it involves dishonesty with the intent to deceive another person. A normal lie is usually premeditated, told for external, social, financial, or career-based gain.
The most important thing that was said this morning thus far is Adam Schiff came on and he went full Alice in Wonderland, Queen of Hearts. Verdict first, trial later. I believe he destroyed his credibility this morning on this show as a fair arbiter of this process.
Because what those notes reflect is a classic mafia-like shakedown of a foreign leader. Well, it reads like a classic organized crime shakedown. This is the essence of what the president communicates.
We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though.
But there's not much reciprocity here. This is how a mafia boss talks. What have you done for us? We've done so much for you, but there's not much reciprocity. I have a favor I want to ask you. What is that favor? Of course, the favor is to investigate his political rival, to investigate the Bidens.
And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that, I'm going to put you in touch with people, and not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with Attorney General of the United States, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. He's got the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him. And I'm going to put you in touch with Rudy. You're going to love him, trust me. You know what I'm asking, and so I'm only going to say this a few more times, in a few more ways. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked.
And they're on artificial respirators right now. They're getting mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Little pencil neck Adam Schiff.
Oh, come on!
He's got the smallest, thinnest neck I've ever seen. But I saw him today. Well, we don't really know. There could still have been some Russia collusion.
Oh my... Your Honor, I object!
And why is that?
Because it's devastating to my case!
Overruled.
Good call!
Pathological lying, which is also known as mythomania and as pseudologia fantastica, is different. Unlike a normal lie, a pathological lie is often impulsive and unplanned.
You know, I think it's a shame that we started off this hearing with fictional remarks.
I have a favor I want from you, though. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that, I'm going to put you in touch with people, not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with Attorney General of the United States, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. He's got the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him.
The implication of a conversation that took place between a president and a foreign leader, putting words into it that did not exist, they're not in the transcript. And I will contend that those were intentionally not clear, and the chairman described it as parody, and I don't believe that this is the time or the place for parody when we are trying to seek facts.
You know what I'm asking, and so I'm only going to say this a few more times, in a few more ways. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked.
And unfortunately today, many innocent Americans are going to turn on their TV, and the media is only going to show that section of what the chairman had to say. But I'm also glad to know that many Americans have seen this movie too many times, and they're tired of it.
Adam Schiff is a soulless liar. He's a man willing to say literally anything for political advantage. And that's really the worst of all. Being a lunatic would be much more appealing than that.
Do you believe the President of the United States is a Russian asset?
What matters most is the president's actions. Whether he's compromised or not, he is acting like a person who is compromised by constantly fighting sanctions on Russia.
On Friday, the United States imposed sanctions against Russian businessmen, companies, and officials.
Constantly fighting sanctions on Russia.
This administration has been tougher on Russia than any of its predecessor administrations. I could go through the list, but there's not time in the show to talk about all the things we've done. The largest defense buildup, our new, I mean, the list is long.
By continually taking Putin's side over the views of his own intelligence agency.
I'm with our agencies, especially as currently constituted with their leadership. I believe in our intel agencies, our intelligence agents.
Shifty Adam Schiff is at it again, lying before the House Intelligence Committee in a shameless effort to discredit President Trump.
As you know, Mr. Chairman, you're being severely criticized by a lot of Republicans for mocking the president.
Lying in a shameless effort to discredit President Trump.
For mocking the president. Was it a mistake to make light of the situation?
Oh, I don't think it's making light of the situation, and I certainly wouldn't want to suggest that there's anything comical about this.
Schiff intentionally misquoted the president, attributing blatantly false statements to President Trump, claiming he said things that Trump literally never said.
This type of deception seems to be told with no external benefit in mind. It's also still being debated whether mythomania is a diagnosable medical condition on its own or simply a symptom of another mental illness. After all, it's easy to confuse pathological lying with other psychiatric conditions involving untruths. For example, narcissistic and histrionic personality disorders involve deceiving others, though in both of those conditions, the liar seeks to gain personal accolades, admiration, and attention.
Can you agree that there has been no evidence of collusion, coordination, or conspiracy that has been presented thus far between the Trump campaign and Russia?
No, I don't agree with that at all. I think there's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight.
The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired with the Russian government in its election interference activities.
There is ample evidence, and indeed there is, of collusion of people in the Trump campaign with the Russians. There's abundant evidence of collusion. But look, I've been very clear over the last year and a half, that there is ample evidence of collusion in plain sight. But look, you can see evidence in plain sight on the issue of collusion, pretty compelling evidence. There's ample evidence of collusion. The core issue in Mueller's investigation, that core issue is collusion.
I think it's corrupt and evidence of collusion.
What's your evidence? You've been saying that on TV for years.
Well, I will tell you, and I've also been saying, as you know, that the evidence is in plain sight, not hidden anywhere. But as I've said all along, there's plenty of evidence of collusion and corrupt commingling. On the issue of collusion, the reality is that there is ample evidence of collusion in plain sight, and it has been for a very long time. And of course, as the weeks have gone on, that evidence has continued to mount.
Yeah, what exactly is that evidence again, Dan? Did I miss it?
The Mueller report that came out has completely cleared the president when it comes to collusion with the Russians in the 2016 election.
And one thing we have learned the hard way during the Russia investigation is there are a great many times when people, including the president, simply say things that are flatly proven false without much time elapsing between the statement and the proof.
I understand this guy is making this up. He's got nothing. He's a carnival barker. He has nothing.
For 2 years, when he sees a television camera, he hasn't been able to stop himself and say, I have incontrovertible proof that there has been collusion. Where is it, Adam? Because if you don't produce it now, Chairman, you can be charged with obstruction of justice. That's the bottom line. You have no respect for the American people because you are an inveterate liar.
He went up to the Hill and he said the key component of their entire case, that Michael Cohen was in Prague to coordinate this whole conspiracy with the Russians.
Right.
Cohen said it wasn't true. Keep in mind, he's their star witness, not Trump's.
Well, in the end, you know what happened or didn't. Schiff did not produce the evidence. He didn't have it because it doesn't exist. Schiff was bluffing, which is to say, lying.
Do you know if Michael Cohen ever was in Prague in 2016?
The answer is no, never. So what does Schiff do? Instead of being honest, he just has to double down and hope nobody holds him to account for his 2 years of lies. And because he's a Democrat, he won't be held to account.
I can't believe
the Russians offered help. The campaign accepted help. The Russians gave help, and the president made full use of that help. And that is pretty damning, whether it is proof beyond a reasonable doubt of conspiracy or not.
The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired with the Russian government in its election interference activities.
Congressman Schiff, you could say, has been full of Schiff at some times. He said that the majority memo was going to include national security that couldn't be released. That wasn't true. He said it was going to contain sources and methods. That's all public. Now we can see that's not true. He said it was materially altered. And it turns out that there was grammatical changes, and the only changes beyond grammatical was requested by Congressman Schiff, as well as a change that was requested by the FBI.
Let's start with Adam Schiff, because it just amuses me to even mention his name. Why do the American people have to put up with these clowns?
I think, tragically, the president has decided that racism is good politics. Racism is a good political strategy. There's a reason why he keeps returning to attacking these women of color. It was the same president who said there were good people on both sides of a neo-Nazi rally.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Said there were good people on both sides of a neo-Nazi rally.
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
This is who he is, and he thinks it's a winning political strategy.
And I'm surprised, it shows how far, a face the nation has fallen when every single week it seems like they put on Adam Schiff. He's been spewing lies for 2 years. And I don't know why anybody listens to him at this point, because he has no case.
You're one of the highest ranking Jewish members of Congress. What's your response?
Well, I hate to even dignify those remarks, but look, it's not the Democratic Party that believes that there are good people on both sides of a Nazi rally. There's just one party and one party leader who believes that, and that's Donald Trump.
This guy is the biggest sleazeball in Congress. You're just ignorant. You're a liar. You're lying to yourself. You're lying on behalf of Adam Schiff. You're a bad person. You have no spine. You're unethical. And you follow unethical, slimy people like sleazeball, dirtbag Adam Schiff. Here's the actual quote from President Trump, hat tip Steve Cortez's article at Real Clear Politics. The actual quote. This is Trump. I am not talking about the neo-Nazis and white nationalists, referencing the Charlottesville incident there. Because they should be condemned totally. Because they should be condemned totally. Not condemned partially, Joe. Not semi-condemned. Not a quarter or a third condemned. They should be condemned totally. Now, if you're a lying sleazeball, like filthy Adam Schiff, a liar, a discredited conspiracy theorist, a human being not worthy of our time anymore in Congress, and undignified, who has destroyed his office, the Congress, and the credibility of anyone else. Why is this guy allowed on television? President Trump called neo-Nazis good people. He actually said the opposite.
Look, I think this whole allegation the president has made is reckless, and given that it comes without any substantiation whatsoever, breathtakingly reckless. There was no FISA warrant directed at Mr. Trump or his campaign.
There was no FISA warrant directed at Mr. Trump or his campaign.
We're reporting tonight that the FBI obtained a FISA warrant
on Carter Page, a Trump campaign advisor.
He was spying on Carter Page. Obviously, he's the focus of the warrant. But once you have those surveillance powers, you can go back legally and recreate all of his conversations inside the campaign. And you look at how wide-ranging the intrusion was on the campaign. Mm-hmm. You know, dozens of witnesses inside the campaign, the transition in the White House, ultimately were interviewed. Well, how do they make those connections? Because through Carter Page, they were able to build a spider out to find these things. So it really was spying on the Trump campaign through the one lens of Carter Page.
But I think the call for this to be investigated is much like the president's call to investigate his claim that millions of undocumented immigrants voted. It's patently absurd. And it's designed, I think, to give some patina respectability to a claim that really has none at all.
Democrat congressman was in the green room at Morning Joe and said that the Trump-Russia probe is a running joke that all the Democrats talk about in the House. They know it's all bogus. They know Adam Schiff is a phony, baloney, plastic banana, good time rock and roller, bug-eyed.
I am your voice.
You're a liar.